Welcome one and all back to 1998. Now, before I get into it, I know a few of you might be wondering why I've skipped one in the series. This is going to be my Wrestlemania 14 review, and the last one I uploaded was Wrestlemania 12. Well, basically, a couple months ago, I was doing my WWF 1997 year in review video series, where I go back and review all the pay-per-views from that year and watch all the Raw episodes and give you a detailed account of what's going on. So I've already reviewed WrestleMania 13 then, so if you want to watch that video, head over to my channel. On the top right hand corner there'll be a search box. If you just type in WrestleMania 13, that'll be like one of the first videos that pops up. Click onto that, watch that one, and if you want, head back over to this one and then watch this video. Right, here we are in 1998. It's WrestleMania 14. This is a huge pay-per-view for the WWF because it's centered around the storyline between Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you notice in these WrestleMania reviews, I always talk about it all being centered around one thing, the main event, because the main event of WrestleMania is the most important thing in pro wrestling of that year, in my opinion, and everything's been built up towards that. And more than a year in some cases. Shawn Michaels had been the champion now since WrestleMania 12, obviously on and off. Then you got Stone Cold Steve Austin, the next top guy. No one knew how big he was going to get, but this guy ended up breaking all the records, and that's what this show is basically built around. So let's get into the card, shall we? If it will pop up on my phone. There we go. Started off with a 15-team Battle Royal match now. Imagine that. Nowadays, we only have like 4 tag teams on the entire roster. Back then, they had 15 pairs that they could throw together and put into a Battle Royal at the start of the show. And that's not even including the rest of the matches that were on here. Just amazing stuff. It ended up being the Legion of Doom that won it. Nothing really in particular to say about this match, just apart from how amazing it is to go back and watch this and see how many tag teams the WWF had back then, especially compared to now where they just don't have anywhere near that. The tag team wrestling is just a lost art now, isn't it? Next up we had, well, Taka Michinoku versus Mr. Aguilar for the light heavyweight championship. They just had a light heavyweight championship tournament, which Taka Michinoku beat Brian Christopher for the title, and then he came up here against Mr. Aguilar, who was from Mexico. I don't know who it was. I think it may be S.A. Rios. This match is alright. Standard cruiserweight light heavyweight match at the time. The cruiserweight matches in WCW were a lot different, a lot higher paced, and a lot more lucha influenced. Whereas these were just a lot more spot orientated, like built around a match, a bit more structure to it, but not as impressive. Yeah, Taka Michinoku basically gets the win, and there's not much storyline behind it, so I've got nothing much to say. Next up we had Triple H going up against the European champion Owen Hart. Now, Triple H was with China at the time, and China was a bit of a nuisance in the ring, so Mr. Commissioner, Sergeant Slaughter, came down and said, you know what, China, I'm going to handcuff you to me so you cannot get involved in this match. Of course, halfway through the match, he ends up like knocking him out, sort of getting free, and then hitting Owen Hart. Triple H ends up getting the win, winning the WWF European Championship. This is a good little match. Obviously, when you got Owen Hart in the ring, you're going to see something good. This was after Bret Hart had been ousted from the company in the way that he did, which was so controversial, and Owen Hart was the last one of the Hart Foundation left. They even mentioned that. They said the last of the Harts, and he was the last Hart surviving in the World Wrestling Federation, and they basically jobbed him out to basically Vince's future son-in-law, which, I make it sound a bit bad, but Triple H was one of the next top stars in the company, so you sort of know where you're coming from with that, don't you? Again, like I said, decent match. Next up we had Mark Mero and Sable. Bear in mind, in my last video was when Triple H just brought in Sable, and now he's in a match higher placed up on the card than he is. Sable's in a match with Mark Mero against Goldust and Luna. This is Luna's second ever WrestleMania mixed tag team match. She was also featured at WrestleMania 9, where she helped out Shawn Michaels against Tatanka and Sensational Sherry, and then she battered Sherry. Anyway, you've probably watched that video. If not, go back and watch it. Yeah, this match was pretty rubbish. Dad Sable ended up beating Luna with like the TKO move that Mark Mero used to do at the time, which is also pretty similar to Brock's F5, which is quite funny because now she's got married to Brock Lesnar. Next match, Ken Shamrock versus The Rock, Intercontinental Championship match, and this was pretty good. This was the rise of The Rock. This is basically the launching pad for The Rock. Now, in this video I've talked a lot about launching and people being made and stuff like that. There are varying things. I think for me, this event is sort of like The Rock's Austin 316 moment. This is his moment where he's coming out, he's by himself. He'd recently just turned on Farouk by smashing him in the head with a chair, and now he's the Intercontinental Champion. He's defending against Ken Shamrock, someone who's just come over from the Ultimate Fighting world. He'd been Ultimate Fighting Champion, and now he's going against The Rock. Ken Shamrock brought over this legitimate background and made wrestling just seem a bit more legit and a bit less fake, so people couldn't really dismiss it like they used to, like, oh, this is fake, because Rock would lay in some hard shots to Shamrock. I remember there's one shot in the match where he pie-faced him, proper smacked him in the face with a steel chair. That was ridiculous. I would not like to see that nowadays in wrestling. Shamrock turned out alright, so I guess he didn't do too much damage to one shot, but I wouldn't like to see that over and over again. Shamrock ends up beating The Rock via ankle lock submission, but then he won't let go. Then he beats up a load of referees, he beats up all the Nation of Domination, and then the referee reverses the decision. This is supposed to be the big blow. This is supposed to be Shamrock's big moment where he'd been feuding with The Rock for a few months in the Nation of Domination, and every time he got close to that title, Rock would cheat his way out of it and keep hold of the belt. This is supposed to be Shamrock's moment. He ended up being too stupid for his own good, getting disqualified, and Rock ended up keeping hold of that IC title. Next up, tag team titles match, dumpster match, New Age Outlaws, fresh tag team, new on the block, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg Jesse James going against Mick Foley and Terry Funk, two perennial hardcore guys. Two of the guys that when you talk about hardcore wrestling and the history of it, these are guys that really come up. Well, maybe some of the Japanese fans who are more hardcore into Japanese wrestling will be able to tell you a few more people, but in terms of North American style hardcore wrestling, these are two of the pioneers of it, who, funnily enough, also made the names in Japan, so it's quite funny how that works out. Anyway, well, that works out because the North American audience goes, oh, these guys who are massive in Japan, and they tell you about it and they really promote it, whereas other guys who are Japanese, they don't really get promoted in North America. Anyway, this is a dumpster match. Ends up being that Funk and Foley end up chucking them into a dumpster. That's the rules of the match, but you have to throw them into a dumpster, close the lid, and then you win the match. They did that, and they ended up putting some pellets on top so they couldn't get out of it. This all came about because the New Age Outlaws had just pushed Foley and Funk into a dumpster and then pushed them off the stage, which was a nice little spot. Very reminiscent of its time, much like the Dudley Boys putting people through tables and tables off the stage and stuff. A lot better and a lot more impressive than Kane pushing Zack Ryder off the stage when you can tell that the stage is just like 3 foot high. Next up, we had The Undertaker versus Kane. Now, like I was just mentioning at the start of the video, my 1997 review series, please, if you've not already, go back and watch my Bad Blood review. I believe that's one of my better videos, my better reviews. Go back and watch that video and watch how I talk about Kane and listen to the stuff I say about him and how impressed I am to this day. I think I've really got it through in that video, and that was the start of this feud. Kane versus The Undertaker. Undertaker, for all this time, Paul Bearer was saying to him, your brother's alive, Undertaker. You thought he died in the fire, but he's not, he's alive. And then he turned up at Bad Blood. I won't spoil it for you, go back and watch the video and then find out what happened there. Or most people already know already. But if you don't, go find out there. Then we got Taker and Kane. Kane is back. Kane comes, Undertaker saying, no, I'm not going to fight my brother. One thing leads to another, they ended up going head to head at WrestleMania. Undertaker beats him in a pretty decent match. Now, a lot of people this year were saying, oh, it should be Kane and Undertaker. It shouldn't be Kane and Undertaker. We've had it twice at Mania already. We've had it countless other times on pay-per-view. Well, not countless, but you know what I mean. Other times in all aspects of TV and house shows and stuff like that. In fact, I saw it on Mayhem in Manchester about a month after this at my first ever live show. So that's an interesting side note. But yeah, Kane beats the Undertaker. No, Undertaker beats Kane. Undertaker gets the streak, keeps it going. Main event time. Stone Cold Steve Austin, winner of the Royal Rumble, to go against Shawn Michaels. In fact, did he win the Royal Rumble? Or was that the year Vince did that stupid thing where he won it and then didn't want to face? No, that was next year. Austin wins the Rumble. He's going up against Shawn Michaels, HBK. HBK, the bad guy. Little did we know that HBK was going to retire after this match, and that backstage he was, well, apparently a lot of people knew that he was a bit of an arsehole, but backstage he was saying, in an eye, saying, I don't know. every time I've got a title and I've got to lose it, I'll just feign an injury, or if I do have an injury, I'll just play it up and say, no, I can't do it, I've got this injury, I'm going on. They didn't let him do it this time. In fact, it's been widely said that Undertaker himself said that, Shawn, if you don't do the job, I'm going to be waiting back here and I'm going to kick your ass. So Shawn goes out there, Austin goes out there. Not only that, they've got Mike Tyson thrown in the mix. Mike Tyson, one of the biggest boxing names of all time, especially back then. Especially, what, 14 years ago? What, we're on WrestleMania 28 this year? 14 years ago, Mike Tyson was huge, and he's put in this wrestling storyline. What they did was they brought him onto Raw. Him and Austin had a bit of a to-do. They had a falling out. Then Austin and Mike Tyson were bickering to each other. So Shawn Michaels gets Tyson into DX. Mike Tyson's going to be the special guest referee. He's on Shawn Michaels' side. Everything's against Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's just won the Rumble. It's his time. He wants to explode and be the world champion. And this is a very good match. Shawn, although he says he was injured, and apparently he was injured, was very good in this match. Austin ended up going over, ended up getting the win. Shawn Michaels afterwards ends up finding out that Mike Tyson was the one that pinned 1, 2, 3. So then when Shawn Michaels comes to, he sees Mike Tyson with the Austin shirt. So HBK goes sick at him, starts pushing him. Then Mike Tyson knocks HBK out. WrestleMania goes off air with Tyson and Stone Cold Steve Austin celebrating in the ring. This, all in all, was an entertaining pay-per-view. I really enjoyed this pay-per-view, and the main event especially is one of the most important things in the history of the WWE. This was what really helped it to start overcoming WCW, because before WCW was kicking its ass. But now the boost from this, the boost from Austin becoming world champion, the boost from Mike Tyson turning up on Raw, really helped them just catapult into the forefront. Austin was the man. Austin was the new champion. Shawn Michaels was to retire. Triple H was to be thrust into towards that main event spot. When I went to watch Mania in Manchester, I think it was the Saturday after, so 6 days after this, I went to watch Mania in Manchester, my first ever wrestling show. It was Triple H versus Austin on top. It was Kane versus The Undertaker, where I bought my first Kane shirt. And if you've not seen my video where I talk about all the wrestling shirts that I got and I display them, if you're interested in that sort of stuff, you can find that on my channel too. But yeah, this is the end of my video. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the review. Let me know what you think of WrestleMania 14, the show in itself. If you've not already seen my other videos, please go back and watch those WrestleMania ones especially, because I want those to be seen. I want to know what people think of them. I want these to keep going, and I want to reach 27 before WrestleMania 28 happens. Please watch them. Please pass them on to friends. Please subscribe above. Please like or dislike, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you very soon.